Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. We are 100 days, according to an article I read, into the pandemic, that it actually started on New Year's Eve, where there was a report on a Chinese website about an outbreak in China of something people had not seen before. And so it feels like 100 days, even though it's just been 29 days since I got that call and said, don't get on the plane and go to New York. The End of Mental Illness, right behind me, had just been launched, and I'd been doing a book tour. I had a new public television special out. I'd been to Tampa Bay and Atlanta, and I did Brain Week on CNN Headline News with Lynn Smith. It was so fun, and I was so excited about my new book. And then the world stopped. And what I want to talk about tonight is how to stay sane when stress is all around you. And I'm actually going to talk about me. And I've already told you about my parents and their home. And my mom's doing great, but my dad's not doing great. And I'm really worried about him. It's sort of like everything I do in my day. He's in my head as I think about what more can we do for him. And then, we have our 8 clinics and they're open, but one of my clinics is in Manhattan, and that's obviously a very stressful time for the people that work with me, and I adore them, and it's hard. And my sister had COVID, and she actually did really well. She was really sick, and then she seems to be okay. And a couple of my employees, actually some people I'm really close to, got it. So with thinking about business and thinking about my folks and the people I love, and I live with 4 women. So I don't know what it is with God and women and me, but, I have 5 sisters. So my wife, Tana, said I came well-trained and housebroken when I come to dealing with women. And it's like, okay, so how do you stay sane? And the first thing I do, and I do this, I don't know when I came up with this, but whenever I go on vacation, I know things are going to go wrong. And so I think, well, how many things reasonably should go wrong? Like we went to France and Greece last year, and I'm like, 10. So on this 2-week vacation, 10 things should go wrong. So I'm actually not going to be upset until the 11th thing goes wrong. And that has served me so well. And I think on the trip to Europe last year, 4 things went wrong. So I didn't have to be upset at all. I hope you're not the kind of person where one thing goes wrong and it just spins you out. And so I plan for things to go wrong, and I plan not to be upset about it, but to just go, it's part of life. I ask myself all the time, does this have eternal value? And if it doesn't have eternal value, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, I think Amen Clinics and my dad, they all have eternal value. So I'm concerned, but I want to do what I can do and not stress, so I will be irritable for my team. And then the other thing I do, and I've talked a little bit about it, I haven't really talked much, is I'm just a huge believer in getting the right nutrition for my brain and for my body. Anybody that follows me knows if your heart's not right, your brain's not right. If your pancreas isn't right, your brain's not right. If your gut's not right, your brain's not right. So even though, people call me the brain doctor, I'm not a brain doctor, I'm a doctor. And I want your whole body to be well, because your brain is an organ just like your heart is an organ. And I just saw on the comments that somebody was watching the Seasons docu-series on Justin Bieber, and I'm in it. And the moment, and it's actually somebody sent me a clip of this today. The moment he came into my office, I think it was last April or May, and he wasn't that cooperative initially. I'm just so grateful he married Haley, because Haley really helped him do the plan. And he came into my office and he said, my brain is an organ just like my heart is an organ. If you told me I had heart problems, I'd do everything you said. So I'm going to do everything you say. And from that moment on, he started to get much better. So I am a fan of giving your brain and your body the nutrients it needs. And it starts with food. And I have to tell you, during the pandemic, as a family, we're closer than we've ever been. We have two teenagers, 16 and 15. And before this happened, they were everywhere. Chloe just got her license. She just got a job. She has a boyfriend. Alize, my niece, she was just so used to being independent before she came to live with us. And she was just always gone. And after they got over the initial shock of we're all on restriction and it's not a punishment, you didn't do anything wrong, they have just been a joy. And we've been eating really well, actually. People are taking turns cooking healthy. So great nutrition for your brain starts with food. But I've been a huge believer in supplements since the early 1990s. When I started looking at scans, I didn't like what some of the medications I prescribed did to the brain. And I remember in medical school, they taught us first do no harm. Use the least toxic, most effective treatment. And that's when I began looking into the science of nutritional supplements and began prescribing multiple vitamins. Why? 90+% of us do not have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And you sort of have to think about it to get to that level. 90+% of us are low in omega-3 fatty acids. And then as I got into it, I started to learn about all sorts of interesting things. So over the next month or so, I'm going to show you, this is my supplement tray. Yes, it's true. These are the ones I take. And I'm going to go through most of them with you. And yesterday we did a launch for this little guy. No, you probably can't see it very well. It's this very pretty pink color. And it's called Happy Saffron. And it's like saffron? It's actually Happy Saffron Plus. And I'm going to have Natalie put a link to it. And it's going to sell out. So the point of this chat is not to sell it. Although I'm a huge fan of BrainMD, the supplement company I created. The point of this talk is to give you a way to think about how to stay sane when just stress is all around you. So how did I get interested in saffron, which is the world's most expensive spice? The supplement's not that expensive, but it's the world's most expensive spice. And when I first got interested, it was 2004, I read a study that 30 milligrams of saffron head-to-head against Prozac was equally effective for depression. And I'm like, whoa. And then I read another study, head-to-head against Zoloft, another antidepressant, equally effective. And then another study on head-to-head against imipramine, a really good antidepressant, one of the oldest ones. I think it came out in 1959. It was equally effective. And then Celexa. And I'm like, I need to pay attention to this. And as opposed to, and I've prescribed antidepressants, 35, almost 40 years, but I don't like them. Now, if you're taking them, don't stop. Please don't do that. Because they can have side effects. And one of the side effects I really didn't like is sexual dysfunction, because the serotonin antidepressants, they're called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, can decrease a person's ability to have an orgasm, or decrease erections, or decrease enjoyment. And if someone's depressed, they're already not interested, which is upsetting generally to their partner. And I just didn't want to make things worse for people. And then 2 studies came out on saffron that it was pro-sexual. And I'm like, helps with depression. It helps with your feeling and performance of sexuality. And then there was a new study on it help with fertility in male sperm. And then another study on Alzheimer's disease and how it improved cognition and supported memory. And then another study on fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain syndrome, another study on rheumatoid arthritis, and then a group of new studies on macular degeneration. And I'm thinking, I'm going to take this. I think I'm going to take this, especially during a time of stress. And in Happy Saffron, so there's saffron, the same dosages used in studies. In fact, new study out of Australia that it helped boost mood and lower anxiety in teenagers. And then another study, how it did it for the elderly. In addition, we added zinc, and during COVID-19, you've probably been reading about zinc and how helpful it can be for your immune system. But it's also been helpful for depression and curcumins. And we actually have a separate product called Brain Curcumins that I take every day because I have knee pain, because I tore my ACL when I played football in intramural football in college. And I just always have knee pain. But when I take curcumins and fish oil and Sammy, I don't have knee pain. And I'm good with my diet. That really helps so much. Yes, you can take Happy Saffron if you're taking antidepressants. And saffron, to answer your question, has been found to work for mild to moderate depression. If you're suicidal, you need to be working with a mental health worker. In fact, almost all of the medications by themselves are not great for serious depression. For those, you need to really be working someone who's highly skilled. like one of our doctors at Amen Clinics. And oh, by the way, we're open and we're doing a lot of Telepsychiatry. Now, we'd been doing that for a long time. Anyways, I digress. Saffron, 30 milligrams. Brain curcumins, we actually put 500 milligrams of that in Happy Saffron, along with 20 milligrams of zinc. So when you're flooded with stress, it's just one of the tools. We'll also go over vitamin D, Neurovite Plus, brain and memory, Power Boost. Here's more curcumins, omega-3 power. But I want to give them their own due. I'm Lebanese, and in Middle Eastern cultures, there's actually a saying that if you're too happy, you must have eaten saffron. So there's actually a very large research on this. So saffron was actually recommended for diseases of the head in Assyrian texts in 668 BC. So this is not new. And, I told you about all the studies, which are pretty cool. So 3 capsules a day is what I take. How else do I stay sane? I have these little mantras for myself. Is it true? I don't believe every stupid thing I think. In fact, I think we're going to come through with this pandemic. And some days I think my dad's going to come through, and some days I think he's not. But he's 90. At some point, he's not going to be here. And at some point, I'm not going to be here. Now, I know some of you saw all of these supplements and you go, oh my God, that's so much. I'm 65 and I want to be 105. So I want the nutrients. Now, some of you are going, oh, supplements, it's no more than expensive urine. There's no science behind supplements. Well, if you get The End of Mental Illness, please get The End of Mental Illness. It's such a good book. I love it. Not biased, but there's actually a chapter in it called Mind Medicine versus Nutraceuticals. Because for so long I've heard other doctors go, there's no science behind supplements. And so what I did in the book, there's this very cool chart. It goes page after page. I look at which of the supplements have A-level scientific evidence. So what does that mean? It means robust research conducted with more than 2 placebo-controlled randomized double-blind trials. And so I actually list what has A-level scientific evidence. And for mood, it's EPA, omega-3 fatty acids, saffron, and SAMe. Saffron actually has 20 randomized placebo-controlled trials or randomized parallel trials, which means comparing this to an accepted treatment. So let's not talk about there's no science. Whenever people ask me that, if I'm feeling irritated, I go, do you read? Okay, other things to say, Sane. So supplementation, I told you why. Mental discipline. Get your brain right. Get your mind right, which means where you bring your attention will determine how you feel. Where you bring your attention determines how you feel. And there's so many good things that happen. You need to focus on that. And I need to be prepared. It was funny. At dinner tonight with the girls, we were talking about people who are mentally the healthiest are present. they're able to live in the present. Now, funny story. They learn from the past, but they're not in the past with regret. And my wife and I, we were going to go to a very special Oscar party. And she had a dress on I didn't like. And it's the only time I've ever done this in our marriage. I looked at her and I'm like, I don't like that dress. You should take that off. And she's mad at me for a week, 3 weeks maybe. And I told this story at dinner tonight. And I'm like, you should be in the past and learn from it. Like, don't tell her to take the dress on. Never did that again. But I'm not in the past with regret, right? I mean, there's all sorts of things in my life I would have done differently, right? So the issue is learn from it, but don't stay there. Or you don't want to be in the past with regret or the future with fear. And, you know, it's one of the most fearful times as a society since I've been alive. You know, I mean, if you have a business, if you have loved ones that could die, if you could get the virus yourself, I mean, it's a stressful time. But I'm doing the things I can do. Like I wash my hands. We quarantine all the boxes for 3 days. We're careful. We wear masks and gloves when we go out, and we just don't go out unless we have to. When we go to the store, one of us goes. We don't have a posse going to the store. So you do what you can, but the more we stay present, the girls, and you would think the kids would be the worst. They're not. They're like, we sort of like it when life has slowed down a bit, and I don't have to spend so much time on my makeup, and I don't have to spend, you know, the 20 minutes to and back from school. And I think my life is going to be slower afterwards. How is your life going to change for the better because of this? I would dearly love for you to write that down. You can also listen to our podcasts. If you go to brainwarriorsway.com, Tana and I have over 600 podcasts. We released one this week with Lisa Sasevich about growing a business, which so many people are going to need now that they're home. Next week, we're going to have Julianne Hough, and we're going to talk about dancing and the brain. Last secret before I go, brand new study on exercise. Exercise was found to significantly improve learning and memory in children, decrease suicide and depression. Yeah. So my poor family, I walk this house. With every meeting I have that I don't have to sit in front of a computer, I have the headphones on and I'm walking. How many steps do I have today? 14,997 during a pandemic when it rained. It just meant a walking fool. Why? Because it keeps me sane. All right, my friends, I will see you soon. I want you to stay sane in a stressful world.